Hey everyone, SoundHound AI is getting a lot of attention from investors given the rising popularity of AI stocks. So in this video, I will evaluate SoundHound AI stock and answer where I think this stock could be by the end of 2024. Where will the enterprise value be by the end of 2024? So let's jump into this company. Let's take a look at its financial prospects and the valuation prospects for this year.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, so one of the numbers I'm going to need to make my stock price prediction or enterprise value prediction for SoundHound is its enterprise value. Coming into this video, the company had an enterprise value of 1 billion. Now, while that might be up significantly in the last few weeks, it's still nowhere near the heights of nearly 3 billion it was at in 2022. Just to let you know and highlight the frenzy that the stock market was in before coming crashing down in late 2022. Sorry, that was hard to say. So in this video, we'll take a look at where I think it'll be by the end of the year. But before we get into that, I want you to understand the importance of artificial intelligence and the total addressable market of AI. According to Statista, the total addressable market for artificial intelligence is expected to grow to $1.85 trillion by the year 2030. That would be up significantly from the $207.9 billion in 2023. Artificial intelligence is popularized by large language models like ChatGPT, but there are more applications like driverless car technology, recommender systems, and more. The companies that stand to benefit from the growth in this AI surge is companies like Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet, Microsoft, and more. Investors getting in today could realize exponential returns from investments that capitalize on the growing effectiveness of artificial intelligence. Okay, so now that you've seen that, you understand why there's all this enthusiasm around artificial intelligence. So one of the next things I'm going to need is its valuation. And I'm looking at EV to revenues here. And SoundHound is trading at an EV to revenue of 26.62, near the most expensive it's been according to this valuation metric in the last year. So at one point it was slightly more expensive around July of 2023, but right now it's about as expensive as it's been, and that's not surprising, right? There's been a lot of enthusiasm around AI stocks given the popularity of ChatGPT and how much Nvidia stock has risen, and that's kind of lifted the whole of AI stocks higher along with it, and SoundHound has benefited from that trend to be sure. Okay, I'm also going to need SoundHound's revenue prospects for 2024. I need to know what it's going to deliver in revenue in fiscal year 2024. And to get that number, I'm looking at Wall Street estimates, right? So this number here, 69.73 million, is what Wall Street expects SoundHound to deliver in fiscal year 2024. This is from a group of Wall Street analysts that are following SoundHound stock. They submit their forecast for where they think the stock price could be, and this is the consensus estimate among those analysts. Some might think it's going to do better, some might think it's going to do worse, but collectively, this is the consensus estimate among Wall Street on SoundHound. Roughly 50% revenue growth in 2024 expected. That's better than the 49% it delivered in 2023. So a slight improvement in terms of revenue growth for SoundHound. All right, so now that we have the numbers, we can go ahead and create a scenario analysis for where we think SoundHound stock price could be or enterprise value could be by the end of the year. So if the company does indeed deliver 69.73 million in revenue as expected by Wall Street, and its valuation stays the same at 26.6, then the enterprise value could be 1.854 billion in 2024. And if you're paying attention, you will have noticed that it's at a 1 billion valuation right now. So that would mean there's a further 80 something percent improvement remaining for SoundHound AI stock if all else remains the same, right? If the valuation remains the same and it hits that revenue target. However, if the valuation decreases, right, which is certainly a possibility given that right now it's trading at the highest valuation all year, and the previous time it hit this valuation, it came back down. So given that, there is a chance that its valuation decreases. So let's take a look at some scenarios where the valuation decreases. If the EV to revenue falls to 20, then the enterprise value could increase to 1.394 billion by the end of 2024, which is still a solid increase considering it's just at 1 billion right now. That would be a roughly 40% increase from where the enterprise value is now. Shareholders will certainly be happy with that kind of return. I know I would be happy with 40% annual returns on any one of my investments, let alone that of SoundHound AI. So even if the valuation decreases, but the company still hits this revenue target, then the enterprise value could still be 1.4 billion, which would be a nice increase. If the EV to revenue declines significantly down to 15, then the valuation could fall to 1.045 billion, which would be a disappointment. That would be roughly flat for the year. And given that you're taking a risk with investing in a stock, you don't want the investment to be flat for the year. So 1.045 billion would only be a moderate increase, roughly 4% from where it's at today. I think investors would be disappointed in that return, especially you can get 5% from a government bond, which is risk-free. So you wouldn't want a lower return than what you can get with the government bond. So a 4% return would be a disappointment for SoundHound AI investors. And the worst case I've modeled here is an EV to revenue of 10, which would decrease the valuation by about 30% down to 697 million, a scenario that I think is unlikely. I don't think it's likely that its valuation will decrease by 30%. I don't think that's realistic, but it's probable. It's a non-zero chance, as I like to say. It's not zero. So right now its valuation is at 26.62, which is at the higher end of where it's been in its last year. So I would expect, or I would predict, a decrease in the valuation. I would predict a decrease in the valuation, but not a significant decrease. I'm not suggesting it falls back down here to around 10. I'm not suggesting that. I don't think that's a realistic scenario, so we can knock that out. I also don't think it's going to remain at 26.6. I think that's the peak valuation, and I don't think it's going to remain there. I think if I was to give my best estimate for where this stock will be in terms of enterprise value, would be somewhere around the valuation of 1.1 billion and 1.3 billion. I would say 1.15 billion and 1.3 billion, roughly 10 to 15 to 30% higher than where it is today. That would be my best estimate for where SoundHound AI stock will be to end the year. Now, the company is set to report earnings, and that's going to change a lot. So I will likely have an update to this SoundHound enterprise value or stock price prediction after the company reports earnings. I'll incorporate those results into my prediction and update you when that happens. But for now, that's my prediction. That's my estimate. But remember, as you noticed, I used a lot of estimates and assumptions, and that's not precise. So take that with a grain of salt. The reason I provided several scenarios is for you to look at it and determine which scenario you think is most likely. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to see more just like it, please subscribe to the channel. I can't keep this channel free without the support of viewers like you. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, and I appreciate your support.